For the first time since 1867, Jamaica's Parishes and Counties Act is up for amendment, reshaping Jamaica Portmore's rather future. But is it a bold step forward or political maneuvering? We ask the tough questions tonight as we sit down with Dr. Andrew Wheatley, Mr. Fitz Jackson and Mr. Raymond Pryce for an unfiltered debate. This is The Conversation. Stay with us. Welcome to The Conversation, gentlemen. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
Can't complain.
I'm good.
You're good. That's awesome. Portmore. The question is about municipality versus parish status. The opposition, well, the opposition party has expressed some amount of skepticism about Portmore becoming a parish. Do you see any merit in the government's proposal, or do you believe it's purely political maneuvering?
It's the latter. It's the latter. And if you are in doubt, I have the proof. Former cabinet minister and JLP leader of one of their region, whatever their equivalent is, said it. And it's on tape. He said that what they're doing in Portmore is to cut it off from St. Catherine, and they will cut it in such a way that certain constituencies the JLP will never lose. That is on record. So you don't need to speculate. That is an established fact. And more so, the Prime Minister or any other member of the Jamaica Labour Party has ever refuted it. In fact, on the occasion and at the location when he made that statement, his colleague member of Parliament, Dr. Wheatley, was in attendance, present, when he made that statement. I know Dr. Wheatley will try to refute it, but Mr. Warmington's statement is there on record, so we can move on from there. That the purpose of doing the separation from St. Catherine is to prevent the councillors who are elected in Portmore to vote in Spanish Town. And having done that, is to establish the boundaries in such a way that the PNP will never win certain seats. That's what he said. That's what is in the law now that they're promulgating. That's what is in the bill that was voted on by the government on Tuesday. So let us move away from the speculation of what you mean, what you want to achieve. It's there.
So hasn't there been an interest for Portmore to become a parish, though?
It is important to understand and appreciate the antecedents of this municipality in Portmore. In early to mid-1990s, the residents of Portmore, not the political representatives, the residents, through their various community associations, under the umbrella of the joint Portmore Citizens Association, organized a series of community meetings and consultations across Portmore to obtain the feedback of their members as to resolving the issue of inadequate and municipal attention to the affairs of Portmore. And out of that exercise, they said they wanted their own local government authority. It is important to know that in a parish, the parish by itself does not confer an authority.
Yeah.
It is the administrative authority in law that establishes the governance authority to do all those local government issues. So the people of Portmore said that is what we want. They never had any issue with being in St. Catherine, you know. They had a problem with having an effective local government authority. That's what they sought, that's what they asked for, and that's what the PNP government of the day gave them. No, that's not a disputable issue. The records are there.
Yeah, so we don't want to keep Raymond too quiet on this particular issue, you know. So jump into the fray now.
Usually people complain that I'm not quiet enough.
No,
so this is a first.
No. What's your take on the issue, though?
Well, the government of Andrew Holness is challenged by the mouth of Everett Warmington, because when Warmington spoke in the style and manner that he did, he made very clear, as MP Jackson has explained, what the real game was. Since then, other members of the Jamaica Labour Party have tried to catch up. They've tried to retrofit. They've tried to, you know, as I say, if you put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. What they want to do is what was stated. And if you scrutinize the bill, it's what's there. I tell you something interesting. If you want to know what's in the mind of a politician, look at how the money is spent. Every constituency MP gets a CDF, and the current Member of Parliament for East Central St. Catherine has been the MP now going 108 months. Mm-hmm. I challenge you to go to the Parliament, review the Hansard, look on all of his own presentations about how his constituency money has been spent, and you will find that less than 1% of the entire allocation over 108 months has been spent in the area. What you basically have is a failed representative who now has the support of his party with what I call the Warmington bill, to cut away the evidence of his failure. Why do I say the evidence of his failure? If you have underserved an area for 108 months, chances are the people will tell you time come for you to go. So he believes that those areas are the only areas where they want to see the back of him. Well, we have our next guest coming whenever the elections are called, either for East Central St. Catherine or Northern Portmore, because they haven't even thought it through to be able to say these will be the names of the new constituencies. Yeah. So whichever it is, when they call it, he shall lose it.
So the statement has been made. This is the Gerrymandering Act of 2025. Is there any fear among members of the People's National Party that the JLP can actually annex power for themselves in the formation of a new parish? Or is it just a case whereby they are trying but they will lose?
I'm going to defer to MP Jackson as my senior, but I'll say this, if I could suggest. The question isn't if any member of the PNP is afraid. The question should be, are Jamaicans who love democracy aware that this move invalidates their ballot? Look, less than a year ago, Prime Minister Andrew Holness campaigned with somebody by the name of Marklon Edwards, saying to the people of Portmore, we find this individual a fit and proper candidate and better than Leon Thomas. The people of Portmore had the temerity to disagree with him and tell him, say, keep your candidate. We will elect our mayor. He did not like the results. So the Warmington Act of 2025 is to cancel and invalidate the democratic will of the people by Xing out their ballots, deleting the results and the record of their ballots, by retroactively repealing the charter of the Portmore municipality. In so doing, at the same time, cancelling the authority of the office of a directly elected mayor, and therefore invalidating the democratic choices of the PNP. The dictionary, the English language, has several words for people with that mentality. I'll leave you with one for now. Despot.
Despot.
Well, before I go any further, I must say I fully concur with those comments by my colleague and comrade Raymond Pryce, particularly about the Prime Minister being a despot, because that's what the action in Parliament demonstrated. And in fact, is the basis of our walking out, because the final vote, as was tabulated by the clerk, confirmed what your position was. And we felt that was untenable, and we ought not to sit in the room in light of that. Raymond touched on a point which I want to elaborate on. The reversal of the election from 2024. The reversal, because this act, if comes into being before the next local government election is called, before the next local government election is called, will in effect terminate that office of the mayor. What it will also do is to invalidate councillors who are qualified to run by being a registered voter in the parish of St. Catherine, who now live in the area that they will cut off. So his qualification as a councillor goes by virtue of this act. Of course, these are some of the points we're going to raise in the courts too. A court will ask, what is the mischief that you're seeking to correct by this act? What is wrong? What injuries is continuing by it remaining as it is? There is one. There is one. But the government is not bold enough to acknowledge it. The mischief is that if the boundaries remain as they are and Portmore remain a parish, they cannot win certain seats. It's against that background I concur with Mr. Pryce's comment about despotism. Because they are about winning the election at any price, they are prepared to do the worst things. You know, let me just say this. It is a prerogative of any government to propose any changes in the structure of the country. This goes beyond Portmore or St. Catherine. The structure of the country. We have 14 parishes for over 100 and something years. And if the government says for 1, 2, 3 reasons the structure needs to be changed from 14 to 15, it would set them out. The government has not done that. What the government says is that, oh, it will make for development. Does the parish status of St. Mary or St. Thomas advances its development agenda over anywhere else in Jamaica? It has the parish status. So you can't understand how they haven't put forward any plausible or credible basis. But as I said, there is a reason. They can't win the election without doing these things. And that's why they must seek to do it before the elections. When the Electoral Advisory Committee of 1979 was promulgated, you know what the leaders of both parties did? Because of the tribalism that existed when an incumbent government of any side uses their parliamentary majority to administer the election, and more importantly, establishes the boundaries of the election, is what contributed to much of that. We had over 1,000 deaths. So what they did, they said, no political boundary must be set by any action of any incumbent government. That's why the Electoral Commission of Jamaica is in place. What Mr. Holness and his cheerleaders in the party is doing is to
reversing that.
To bring us back to a pre-1980 electoral practice. They thought they were smart, and said, we're not changing constituency boundary. But the courts say, what is the effect of this action? Every action taken, it has an effect. What are the effects? Is the effect negative, deleterious? The answer is yes.
So if not a parish, though, what alternative governance structures would you advocate for to improve Portmore's autonomy and, let's say, service delivery?
Good question. The fact of the matter, and I hear some of the JLP members stoutly, what Portmore have to lose if they become a parish rather than remain where they are? They're losing a lot. What are those? Portmore municipality structure for governance has something that no other municipality in Jamaica has, or English-speaking country. Only one with a directly elected mayor. That's democracy made deeper. 2, it's the only one that has a provision in law, in statute, that non-partisan elected individuals, citizen association groups, have a seat at the table of the municipality to ensure transparency in the deliberations and the decision-making of the municipality. No other municipality in Jamaica has those provisions. Thirdly, it also has the provision in law that any time the boundaries of the municipality is to be adjusted, one way or the other, it must not be done privately or only among the political members of the council or the parliament. At least 1/7 of the voters in that geographic space of Portmore must have a yes-no vote in endorsement of those changes. Those don't exist anywhere else in Jamaica. None of the parishes have those provisions. So what the government is doing is going backward. It's a retrograde step. That is the gravamen of our position and our pronouncements, that this is not in the interest of Portmore. What the government should be doing, if it cared about development and improved governance, is to bring the rest up. It pushed Portmore down.
All right, let's continue to hold the thought. We are going to our first break. Just want to remind you that you're watching The Conversation. We're looking at the issue of Portmore becoming Jamaica's 15th parish. Continue to stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're off here.
Welcome back to The Conversation, where I'm having a discussion on Portmore becoming the 15th parish of Jamaica. I am sat here with Mr. Fitz Jackson, opposition spokesperson on Portmore affairs, as well as Mr. Raymond Pryce, opposition spokesperson on what do we speak about now?
Well, formally, I'm his deputy, but substantively, I am the incoming member of parliament for Portmore Northern.
All right, so we wanted to unpack something as far as gerrymandering is concerned. Help us to understand the boundaries. You would have served as MP for a number of years, and you would have been intimately and intricately have an understanding of that particular area. Walk us through the map of the place now and what it would likely become if this bill is passed, and what are some of the implications?
Okay, to begin with, constituency boundaries are not determined on the basis of geographic landmass.
Yeah.
Constituency boundaries are determined by population, location, and count.
And density, yeah.
Yeah, population density. So when I hear the government talk about the Goat Island lands and all of those lands, nobody live there. They're empty lands. Empty lands. And our Portmore will be better off by all these lands. That's a distraction. Now come to population. This is where the tire hits the ground. What they have done is to look at where the PNP votes are on the northern side of coming from Portmore, from the south. And they meticulously use a line, right, to cut those off so that they cannot vote in that new parish that they're creating.
What are some of those communities, though, that would have been cut off in the north?
By name?
By name, you have Quarry Hill in my constituency, which is the bulk of it, and smaller communities like Villa Palms and Orchard Farm. Those communities would go.
Salt Pond, round about the Salt
Salt
Pond
Pond is not there.
Okay.
Right? Really, there's no one living in Salt Pond.
Where's Clifton?
Clifton would still remain.
Okay.
Because it is south of the highway
Yeah.
that they're using on the boundary. In East Central,
You have Lake Spen, Lime Tree, Lilliput. Lime Tree as in Lime Tree Grove.
Yeah, man, I know
And Lilliput. Right? And it's interesting, you talk about being like Clifton being south of the road. So you have, usually in geography, certain things that help you with a boundary. And the real boundary could be the Rio Cobre, because everything that is currently a part of South St. Catherine and East Central St. Catherine could be contained in the same constituencies, even if they go the route of the new parishes. But I want to follow something MP Jackson said about boundaries being determined by population density. In other words, per capita rather than per area. So when you say that we are now going to make Goat Island a part of Portmore and Hellshire Hills a part of Portmore, all of these communities that MP Jackson and I have mentioned have landowners, residents who pay taxes. If they're going to expand their homes or build their homes, they pay building fees and other fees and permits. So if the government loves Portmore, why are you cutting off humans who contribute to the revenue of Portmore to give us flora and fauna that don't pay taxes on the Goat Islands? You see, no matter how they craft it, their real agenda, the Warmington published agenda, is made plain.
To expand on the point, to tell you how dishonest and deceptive these guys are, they don't ask them why they don't cut off Gregory Park and put it in and keep it in St. Catherine. You know the reason why? They have a strong voting base in Gregory Park. So they keep that. The only area that they cut off is the areas that would give them a challenge within the boundary of the parish.
You just reminded me, a section of Gregory Park, PD1,
Yes.
is on Mandela Highway. So if you're talking about the neatness of a boundary, then, I mean...
It's ridiculous. You know, we use a term, and I use it a lot, gerrymandering. Break it down. Gerrymandering is the practice of using governmental authority to cut or establish political boundaries for the advantage of one side or the other. That is what gerrymandering is. It's a one word, but that's what it means functionally. And that's why I said in Parliament on Tuesday that properly the bill should be titled the Gerrymandering of Political Boundaries Bill of 2025.
Oh, I'm happy that you said it and not I. So,
because that's what it is. Go back to the point you made earlier on. What are the pluses, the advantage from doing this parish boundary designation, adjusting the parish boundary and establish a new parish? What is the specific thing? No member of the Jamaica Labour Party can enumerate one specific benefit. Yes, I hear them underscoring the fact that the opposition took part in the Joint Select Committee. Yes, I was the member, among others. There's a stock question that I asked all the agencies that came to those meetings. The JPS, NWC, JCF, Ministry of Health, all of them, because we invited all the service providers and so forth to, give their take. All of them said, except none, the designation as a parish does not affect their service provisions because they provide services to the people of Jamaica in communities where it is needed, not because of which parish you are, but because of the needs that you have in that community. And they are able to do it well or not, depending on the resources which are allocated to them. So when you hear the Jamaica Labour Party get up, it's really an insult to the intelligence of the people of Portmore to say, once you become a parish, all these things will just miraculously come to you because you were never designated a parish.
I want to follow quickly on that. I remember during the Joint Select Committee process and the issue of a hospital came up.
yeah.
All of a sudden, the then permanent secretary in the Ministry of Health, Dunstan Bryan, spoke of an international standard that says it's okay if you live within the radius of a hospital that already exists. The administration of Andrew Holness says it's because they love Portmore, they're lifting them up by creating a parish. But then you tell them, say, when you are a parish, you can either choose KPH, Kingston's Public Hospital, or Spanish Town Hospital, St. Catherine's Public Hospital. But when you go Jim Screechy and don't tell them, say you come from Portmore, just join the line. I mean, if your motive is bringing additional resources and services into an area, bring it into the area.
Regardless.
They have not created a new parish around the Cornwall Regional Hospital to create a new hospital where Cornwall Regional used to be,
So your argument then is that they have not implemented the requisite infrastructure to give it that designation.
My argument is Everall Warmington let the puss out the bag. And people like my good former colleague from the Faculty of Pure and Applied Sciences at the university, Dr. Wheatley, an intelligent and credited academic, is now becoming a contortionist with words to unwarmington the thing.
So we had members of our news team going through the length and breadth of Portmore and St. Catherine earlier in the week. You know, we don't have any clips to show right now, but we seem to have been getting mixed reviews from individuals. You have some persons who are saying that they're for the idea of a parish designation, and then there are others who are staunchly against it. But what we have seen in the paper so far is persons who are primarily against it. What is the actual reaction on the ground?
Some people are for the Caribbean Court of
and
Justice.
some are talking about it from the hospital perspective and the fire station perspective,
but
and all of those
that
things.
is the beauty of a democracy's opinions. Some people are for a Caribbean Court of Justice. Some people are against the Caribbean Court of Justice. The government didn't come with a Caribbean Court of Justice bill. So it goes back to the thing of doing what they want to do to suit the out. So listen, let me tell you this. This is my math of it. If the results in the local government elections of 2024 did go differently,
then
you
this
would not
been
have
an
had
issue.
the bill.
So we see housing and environmental concerns. Several new housing developments are underway, but many of the critics are arguing that urban planning has been neglected. All right. What are some of the measures that you think should be put in place to ensure that we have balanced development as far as that is concerned?
But that arises whether you're a parish or not. You know, don't conflate the matter. You don't need a parish or don't have a parish to deal with those environmental and developmental issues.
I heard taxi operators in Maypen complaining about the unplanned nature of the roads in Maypen. Turn Maypen in a parish and see if it fixed. Look here. This is Valentine's Day that this is being recorded. Shakespeare famously asks, would a rose by any other name smell as sweet? You know what you need to ask the proponents of this parish matter? Will the potholes be any less deep in a parish?
So one of the questions that I think we should just ask it boldly, do you want or do you agree with the idea of Portmore becoming a parish? No, that's one on one hand. Yes, why? No, why not? Or do you think that there need to be more consultations before this decision is taken? Those are the questions primarily.
Well, our position is this, and I'm going to repeat it as nauseam. The Portmore municipality in its present construct was never one of the People's National Party government. Never.
But it was done under.
It was done by the people of Portmore, facilitated by the government of the day.
Yes.
We merely listened to them, engaged with them, and we agree. All these features about direct election of mayor, you know, and about 1/7 vote, you know, and the citizens must be a part of it, you know. It wasn't the PNP politicians put that on the table, you know. It was the residents. And our position is simply this. Because what we have is the construct of the people, any modification of it to anything else, the people must remain at the center of that process. It is as simple as that. Yeah. If in their deliberations, not a little smoke screen consultation as they claim, if you have the kind of deepened consultation as was the case in its creation, and they say they want to turn it into a county, then turn it into a county. Right? Yeah. If they want it into a parish,
turn it into a parish.
Turn it into a parish. If collectively we agree on that. But I want to say this too. Changing the construct of Jamaica to have a 15th parish is really and truly not the exclusive thing of people of Portmore and St. Catherine. All of Jamaica.
Yeah.
So when we talk about consultation,
that's a bigger thing you're talking about now. It's a bigger issue
because it affects all of Jamaica. We're moving from 14 parish that we have had for 158 years to a 15 parish. It doesn't involve a St. Catherine. You know, if the government had any sense of civility and decency, what it ought to have done is to put a white paper on the table and engage all of Jamaica around it.
So isn't that the same approach that we should be taking then for the Caribbean Court of Justice?
We have no problem with that. Yes, we welcome that.
As a matter of fact, there is a constitutional reform, a reform of the constitution process. You could put everything and say, listen, the Constitution of Jamaica and the arrangements have taken us to this point. So, nationally, what is the future Jamaica that we want?
One other addendum to that point, and in so doing, do we need a 15 parish? Having answered that question, some technical work now.
Only 10?
Or do we only need 10? And having decided on whether you need additional or less, then you now get professional people to now determine where those boundaries would be. But most importantly, when you're going to create something, a government structure like that, you have to first establish what are the prerequisites, what are the qualifying criteria for establishing a parish. It can't be the GLP or the PNP just saying a hospital and market and all of those things.
So from what both of you have said, am I to understand that you're pretty much saying that we should be putting these things to referendum, the idea of a 15th parish, the idea of the CCJ, all these things should be put to referendum before these actions are taken?
Or at least to public consultation. I don't even know if you could trust a referendum because they're changing a law to cancel ballots. In a referendum, people cast ballots.
What is public consultation?
Public consultation in 2025, public consultation requires at least more than 28 people on a Zoom.
Don't take that lightly.
No, I understand.
And again, I said, you guys in media don't do fact check.
No, we do fact checks here.
Have you confirmed that it was 28 people on the Zoom? I asked you to do that.
Plus, yes. Plus,
you confirmed that it was 28.
I can't vote for I can't vote for everyone.
No, the records of Parliament shows that it was 28.
28.
Right. And that's what the government says, that is their wide and deep consultation.
So now, we understand what you have said, but a referendum obviously then would be put to a wider cross-section of people.
A national.
That's a national. So we're looking at more than,
It's called a plebiscite. Like we did it last year with the local government elections. We're doing it again this year with the time-come elections. The people time-come elections, as I call them. Some people call them general elections.
People time-come elections.
People time-come elections.
But it's very, very serious. This thing about changing Jamaica's structure, it can't be for a set of people in Portmore alone. It can't be for a set of people in St. Catherine alone. It must be wider than that. The reason why you never have a need for that with the municipality, because you were not disturbing that construct of 14 parishes.
So as we wind down though, because we're at the end of this particular segment, what it sounds to me though that the People's National Party ought to be a little bit more vocal in their efforts to say the average man should know and be more conversant in some of the decisions that are being taken publicly, nationally.
I agree.
Nothing wrong with
that. I agree. And I'm going to invite you to assist us in that regard. Given that this matter goes beyond the PNP,
we have
or
to
goes beyond the JLP, I want to invite you and your media house to assist in that process. I know you have nothing against increased education.
No, we don't.
Exactly.
So we just looked at a number of facts. We have viewed facts, we have reviewed the facts, and we've presented them to you. We're going now into another break, and when we return, we'll be speaking with Dr. Andrew Wheatley on the same matter that we've been looking at. Gentlemen, thank you for taking the time out. Awesome conversation, and we'll definitely have this chat again.
Indeed.
All right.
You want us to come tomorrow?
Possibly. Continue to stay with us. You're watching The Conversation. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to the conversation. We have changed gears a little bit in terms of the individuals that were here. They're no longer here. We now sit with Dr. Andrew Wheatley. He's a member of the Parish Committee for Portmore. He's also the Member of Parliament for St. Catherine South Central. Welcome to the conversation. How are you?
I'm good. Good to be here.
So we're looking at Portmore's municipality status. The government has been pushing. They have pushed for Portmore to become Jamaica's 15th parish. What tangible benefits, will this offer residents in terms of governance, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of economic development?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that question. First of all, we need to appreciate where we're coming from with Portmore as a municipality and now achieving parish status. From an operational perspective, it has become untenable for Portmore as a municipality to operate as it is in its current construct.
How so?
Okay, so in 2003, the then government, PNP-led government, in May of 2003, established the municipality of Portmore as an experiment where the councillors in Portmore would not only sit in Portmore and manage the affairs of Portmore, but also sit in the St. Catherine Parish Council, as it was then called. Now, I was one of the first councillors elected in 2003. In fact, the bill was rushed through the Parliament May 2003 for the local government election, June 19, 2003. So again, you see the level of hypocrisy starting there, where the then administration did something to satisfy their supporters at the time.
Well, Mr. Jackson was saying that it was started from mid to late 90s.
I see.
But
Again, and then, that is the level of dishonesty that my colleague and good friend usually display for political reasons and purposes. Now, so in 2003, the experiment started where the municipality of Portmore was established. At the time, there were only 11 divisions in Portmore. In fact, being a councillor in Portmore, I was selected as the vice chair of the St. Catherine Parish Council. And I was also the deputy mayor to Dr. Notice. On Dr. Notice's resignation, I became the mayor. And the reason why I'm going this route is for us to get an appreciation of the situation in its fullest. Now, I was the chairman of the parish council. I was the mayor of Spanish Town, right? But I was a councillor in Portmore.
Nagoya Division.
Nagoya Division. And the decisions that I took there impacted only the people of the parish of St. Catherine, not even my own division in Portmore. Because allocation, funds to do work within division, had to come from Portmore. And the check to give the money to Portmore, I had to sign off on that in St. Catherine. It just tells you that the experiment was very untidy.
So the level of autonomy that they wanted to
was
achieve,
not there.
It was
not there because they were still subjected to the whims and fancy of St. Catherine.
Yeah.
No. As it is right now, there are communities that are a part of divisions in Portmore that, in a sense, doesn't have any form of representation at the local level. You look at Phoenix Park, Caribbean Estate, right? Caribbean Estate is part of the Greater Portmore North Division. It is also a part of St. Catherine North, and St. Catherine South, the constituency that is represented by Fitz Jackson. Clifton is also a part of the Greater Portmore North Division. Garbally, communities like Garbally, they are also part of the Greater Portmore North Division, but they are not a part of Portmore. And the allocation that is given to the Greater Portmore North Division cannot be spent in those communities. For example, road rehabilitation cannot be done through the municipal corporation that is represented by the Council for the Greater Portmore North Division. The people or the residents of Greater Portmore and Clifton and all those communities vote for the council, but the council cannot respond. Right? So the level of hypocrisy that we see coming out where the opposition is talking about, why a parish situation. we are regularizing the experiment that started at both governments, PNP and JP government.
So you're saying that this is the step to fix those issues?
We are fixing it from an operational perspective, from a governance perspective. How is it that you vote for a councillor, but that councillor cannot actually represent you? As a matter of fact, building fees, which is a major source of financing at the local level, the Portmore Municipal Corporation goes into Caribbean Estate and Portmore and Phoenix Park, for example, collect building fees illegally. But they are not responsible for garbage collection, nor are they responsible for street lighting. It falls under the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation.
And that's the same with Morris Meadows.
Morris Meadows as well.
Okay.
So what we are doing is tidying up this untidy situation. It was a good experiment. It was a good experiment, and it has taught us a lot of things. Now we are streamlining this arrangement.
So with the new borders that I'm hearing about, though, the new borders that are being established, how does this fix some of those issues now? Because we're still sounding as though Morris Meadows, some parts of Phoenix Park might not be.
No. The proposed boundary, which is a very hard structure, the toll road, is a permanent structure. So you have a permanent boundary at the northern.
Why not use rear cobra?
The rear cobra would not work. If you look at it, look at where rear cobra runs. Does that make sense? The rear cobra will run all the way back up to Lindsay. Just use that. Imagine, where does that cut north?
Well,
how does that separate the in fact, then Spanish Town itself.
So you can start from Spanish Town.
No. Look at it.
You know?
Spanish Town itself, where the current municipal building is, will also be a part of Portmore. Which parish would that be?
Yeah.
There's no divide. Using the river as a divide. The river doesn't run east to west.
You use the river and the road. So right at Garbally there, you know.
But you say use the river.
And then so you start at Garbally, and then where the river is going down, you probably could use that.
But if you look at how the river runs, it's a nonsensical proposition.
Okay.
Right? It's a nonsensical proposition because then you will not be able to separate the Spanish Town itself, the capital of Spanish. And if you look at the communities, they align themselves. For example, Agabali relates easily to Spanish Town.
Because of proximity. Yeah.
It is not even half a mile from the town center.
But with a Morris Meadows
will find itself in Portmore.
Okay. And all of Caribbean Estate.
All of Caribbean Estate, Phoenix Park, the Clifton, the new housing development, the Burner Lodge development. Yeah. All of those communities will now be a part of the parish of Portmore. So what you're actually doing, we are expanding Portmore.
So you're saying that what Mr. Jackson was saying is it's totally...
No, listen.
You've just rubbished this claim.
No, and not rubbish. I'm proving the fact that he just been an hypocrite. He's a good friend of mine, but sometimes we have to put aside politics and look at governance and what is in the best interest. In fact, this experiment started with the PNP administration, right? It was the ultimate objective of the PNP administration then to establish Portmore as a parish. If you look at the wording, it was a first phase, right? After 20 odd years, I believe that we would have gathered enough information to decide on the best approach.
And you're saying that right now, this is the best approach?
In fact, it was a commitment given by not only the PNP administration, but in 2007, it was a commitment given by the Jamaica Labour Party in its manifesto. In the 2020 general election, we made it a part of our manifesto that we will establish Portmore as Jamaica's 15th parish on becoming government. The people of Portmore voted unanimously. For the first time, the Jamaica Labour Party controlled the majority of the constituencies in Portmore.
Which brings me now to the next question. How do you respond to concerns that are being raised that this move is politically motivated as opposed to being in the best interest of the people?
Well, listen, the people of Portmore they are no fools. They voted for this when they voted for the Jamaica Labour Party in 2020. It was the core of our manifesto as relates to the constituencies in Portmore. That was what we campaigned on. They voted for Robert Miller in Southeast St. Catherine. They voted for Alando Terrelang in East Central St. Catherine with margins that one could not even imagine. And when you hear Fitz Jackson and the opposition coming and talking rubbish, right? Fitz Jackson almost lost his own seat. His margin was cut by 60%. Look at the data. This is not guesswork. This is facts.
So the accusations of gerrymandering are totally baseless.
Listen. It is sad that we have not matured enough as politicians to know when to separate what is partisan politics and what is in the best interest of the people. I would say, if the PNP was in power, they would have wanted the opportunity to complete the process of establishing Portmore as Jamaica's 15th parish. This is a very historic move. It's the first time since independence that we have taken upon ourselves the responsibility of establishing a parish.
First time since 1867,
as a matter of fact. And, the last time this was done in 1867, the population of Jamaica was under 300,000, right? We are 10 times that, right? The parish of Portmore, right now, currently, is around 300,000 people.
Upwards.
There you go. So do the maths.
So we have some more questions to ask. However, we'll go to the final break and we'll continue hereafter. Continue to stay with us. We are going for our final break. Just want to remind you that you are watching The Conversation on Scene TV. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Conversation. Dr. Wheatley, just before the break, we started looking at a number of things. And I'm asking you from the perspective of someone who has been in the sciences. So you are a scientist at heart. Is this the most effective and efficient way to handle this particular situation where, they become another parish as opposed to trying to have a clean cut from, between Portmore and the Spanish Town municipalities?
I'm glad that you mentioned that I'm a scientist. And maybe that is why I'm taking a very clinical approach. The best cut, the best fit, right, for survival, given it from a scientific perspective, and to ensure efficiency, is to ensure that we give the people of Portmore full autonomy. And that at this time, the best approach is for the establishment of Portmore as Jamaica's 15th parish. And as a matter of fact, the same opposition, right? I'm sure when we start active campaigning, if we did not even fulfill the commitment that we made to establish Portmore as Jamaica's 15th parish, they would be the same one saying, look at it. When we win, we are going to make Portmore the 15th parish. They made a commitment in 2020, but they did not fulfill that commitment. But you see the hypocrisy?
Yeah, but the argument now, is that, out of necessity, there should have been more or greater levels of consultation. So there's not sufficient consultation. So
that is relative. No, that is relative. That is relative. Now, the opposition was an integral part of the whole process of consultation. They were also a part of the Joint Select Committee that I chaired, that Select Committee of Parliament, where it was not only limited to the people of Portmore to participate, right? We utilized, in fact, we extended the deadline for submission two times. The submission was supposed to have been sometime in, the initial closing was to be sometime in January. then we extended it 2 times, right? We invited not only persons living in Jamaica to participate, not only persons living in Portmore, but all over the world in the diaspora. We got the support and impact and input, of all the relevant government agencies. And I can tell you, it is in, the record is there in Ansad, that will show that every single agency and the majority of persons, that contributed, supported the establishment of Portmore as Jamaica's 15th parish. If, I hear the opposition talking about 28 persons, it
is more than 28?
Listen, the data is there. We got so much written submissions. I guess
he was talking
speaking
about the meeting.
No, he was talking about one particular online town hall meeting. But the number of persons that participated far exceeded that. Those persons who spoke on and made a contribution. Maybe it would have been 28. If you have 1,000 persons, for example, it's not all 1,000 persons are going to speak. I'm just saying, for example, it is 28 persons that actually spoke.
But is there merit? Isn't there merit in the statements, especially that they both made, that the idea of parish designation should not be left only to members of those parishes? It should be national referendum.
Well, no,
and consultation.
A referendum. I believe the referendum was taken when the people of Portmore voted unanimous for the Jamaica Labour Party. We campaigned on establishing Portmore as Jamaica's 15th parish. And they voted unanimously for the Jamaica Labour Party in 2020. And we are fulfilling that commitment. The process started long ago. And everybody talking about why Portmore being Jamaica's 15th parish. Why not? Why not? Why not? Tell me one negative impact of establishing Portmore as Jamaica's 15th parish. Just one.
Some person might argue that it is not as efficient as the picture is being painted, because right now we have 14 parishes, and some persons have argued that it's not the most efficient thing in terms of what we are doing or how we have been handling that situation. So to create another one and add that to the pile of the existing 14.
What it should do is add efficiency, where you, from an operational perspective.
Well, you can do that without creating another parish.
No. What will you do? You would have a parish within a parish, but without the designation of a parish.
No, you'd have two municipal corporations in one parish.
It doesn't make sense. What does the law speak to? It speaks to parish, forming municipal corporation.
But you have created a precedent in Portmore, because in St. Catherine, where you have a two.
And that is why we have a situation. It was a city municipality. Yeah. Right? But then the councillors, the elected representatives at the local level, they are doing 2 jobs. While they have to attend the general meeting in Portmore, they have to attend the general meeting in St. Catherine. The finance, the planning, all the committees in Portmore, they have to attend the same set of meetings. The construct as it is right now, they cannot address certain concerns of persons who actually voted for them at the local level. And what this seeks to do is to regularize it, operationalize it in such a way that it is more efficient, that the people get better representation.
All right, so what are some of the mechanisms that we can expect to see in place to measure the success of this particular transition and to ensure transparency in the implementation process?
I'm glad you asked about that. For example, I mentioned earlier about the collection of property taxes. Now, communities like Phoenix Park, Caribbean Estate, those people, those persons, when they pay their property taxes, their building fees, it will go to the parish of the Municipal Corporation of Portmore, which is, of course, the parish of Portmore. They can now demand of their representative to address issues that would fall under the purview of, say, property tax, which is street lighting and garbage collection. They can hold them accountable for that. Now, as it is, they can say, no, it's St. Catherine you have to go to, even though at times they try to collect the money for property tax, right? Also, from an operational perspective and the fact that a lot of these communities who currently are outside of the Municipal Corporation of Portmore, they relate more readily, easily to the municipal corporation, not only because of proximity, but the whole development of the area. right? And from a general governance perspective, all issues that falls on the purview of the local planning authority is now under the parish of Portmore. And so from an operational perspective, which is very important, you know, operational perspective and efficiency, that is what is going to happen when you establish Portmore with full autonomy. So they don't have to go to St. Catherine and ask permission from St. Catherine to get things done. In this new construct, they are the master of their own fate.
So we would have divulged earlier that we were underground in Portmore, and the reactions were mixed. Persons were talking about infrastructure and transportation. Those were some of the issues that they were talking about, and some were talking against the idea of a new parish designation, and others were in favor of it. So there have been complaints about inadequate networks, road networks, and public transportation issues. What is the government's timeline, you know, if you're able to say, for some of those major improvements, and where is this, or where will this funding come
so
from?
Again, a very good question. So let me just clear the air for once and for all. The matter of establishing Portmore or establishing any parish doesn't have anything to do with infrastructure, right? So let's get that clear. That is one. That's one. But I just want to put that there. That is not a prerequisite. But as a government, we appreciate the need for development. We appreciate the fact that we need to improve infrastructure, not only in Portmore, but all over the country. You have seen where we have been improving the infrastructure. Look at the road network, we have been improving them. In fact, you know, the whole Spark program is part of the government effort, not only to improve, but to rehabilitate. Now, as it relates to Portmore, there are a number of infrastructural improvements that have already started. Look at Grange Lane in the vicinity of Independence City, the dualization of what is called the I-95 Portmore Parkway, the improvement of the entry into Portmore from Caymanas. The estimate has already been done. The work has been programmed for a flyover from Mandela Highway to enter into Portmore, right? We are about to start the dualization of the Elshire Road from Brayton to Elshire. We have completed the part in the vicinity of Bridgeport. So, from an infrastructure perspective, we have started that. And it has nothing to do with parish status. It is a commitment of a government, a responsible government, to continue to improve infrastructure, especially seeing that Portmore is growing and more people are moving into Portmore.
So the question was based on the premise of what we would have heard from persons, based on their understanding of the process, because the statement is, one of the statements that we remember hearing clearly is that Portmore doesn't have a well-equipped fire station. There is a fire station, but many have argued that it's not as equipped as it should be. And there is not a hospital. So if you want medical assistance at a particular level, you have to go to Spanish Town.
The question is, how those parish status affect? No.
Some persons have made that argument. That's what we want you to clarify.
And that's why we are
them.
educating them. We are educating persons that, notwithstanding the fact that we are going to build an hospital in Portmore, it is not because of parish status. It is because the people of Portmore would appreciate a hospital that is in closer proximity. You know, look at this, for example. If you live in Guyshill, how far are you from the nearest hospital?
Well, there are health centers.
No, we have health centers in Greater Portmore, Christian Penn. Yeah, so you see, it's a nonsensical argument that the opposition puts in the minds of people. But Jamaican people are far more intelligent than them and will not be swayed with misinformation, right? We agree. We will lead. I would want an hospital right beside my house, just in case I get ill, I just jump the fence.
So, yeah. So as we wind down now to the end of the program, you know, one of the questions that I've long wanted to ask is, do you think that the government is doing enough to educate not just constituents of Portmore, but constituents nationally about the processes as they are occurring in government, so that they can actually hold the government to task in terms of what is being done and how it's supposed to be done? Do you think that's being done properly?
Well, we have seen an improvement in terms of communication within government, but I think more can be done. And more will be done and must be done. You know, you will be seeing an aggressive public education, not only on the establishment of Portmore as a parish, but generally, because the government, you know, is doing a tremendous job. But I believe we need to let the people know more of what is being done in their interest.
So last 10 seconds now, you can give me a yes or no for this. So you're saying finally the idea to designate Portmore as Jamaica's 15th parish has nothing at all to do with any gerrymandering, any political maneuverings. It's literally to answer the request from the people of Portmore. That's all you're going to say.
No, I'm going to tell you this. For the first time in a long time, a government, a party, made a commitment, and without fear or hesitation is fulfilling that commitment.
Dr. Andrew Wheatley, thank you very much for sitting across from me for this particular aspect of the conversation. We start by saying that Portmore's future is on the line, but will becoming Jamaica's 15th parish bring real change or just new challenges? The debate doesn't end here. Join the conversation online and share your views. For the conversation, we want to thank our guests, Dr. Andrew Wheatley, Mr. Fitz Jackson, and Mr. Raymond Pryce for chiming in on the insightful discussion. I'm Kwame Thomas. See you next time.